Welcome back to Max Reaction. Hopefully you're having a good day. I'm having a good day. And if you're in the Philippines, it is Philippine Independence Day. At least the day it's recognized as Independence Day. So on this Independence Day of the Philippines, we're going to react to a video that talks about the independence. And this is 8 things you didn't know about Independence Day. That's what the video is entitled. This is Kirby's channel. If you've never checked out Kirby's channel, definitely check it out. He makes so many history videos about the Philippines, long lost history. He makes videos on maybe, you know, lies about the history. Like, I don't mean lies in the history, but how the history in the Philippines is taught. Maybe it's not taught in the correct manner, or they throw some false information out. And in my heart, Kirby's legendary. He really cares for his people. He really cares for the Philippines. He really cares from where he comes from. And he's proud to be a Filipino, but he wants to teach history in the correct manner, and he don't want to lead anybody on with false information. So let's check out 8 things you didn't know about Independence Day.
Independence Day.
That's out of the movie Independence Day. Will Smith.
No, I'm not talking about that movie, and not about July 4th either. Although, it has something to do with it. Mabuhay, or in Kapampangan, luwit kayo. Today, we will be talking about Philippine Independence. So without further ado, here are 8 things about Philippine Independence that you probably did not know.
Teach me, Kirby, teach me.
Number 1, today, Filipinos around the world celebrate June 12 as our Independence Day. Or in Tagalog, Araw ng Kalayaan, Day of Freedom. Or
Araw na Kalagaan.
Or Araw ng Kasarilan,
Araw na Kasarilan,
Day of Independence. It was on June 12, 1898 when then President of the Revolutionary Government, Emilio Aguinaldo, proclaimed Philippine independence from Spain. This declaration of independence of the first Philippine Republic happened in the Aguinaldo Mansion in Kawit, Cavite.
I do believe there's a movie on this.
And it has since been immortalized in our 5-peso bill. At number 2, but the first Philippine Republic did not last long. From 1899 to 1903, and some say up to 1913, the Philippines fought a bitter and brutal war against the Americans.
There's a lot of history that I'm not proud of as an American, and this is certainly a time period I absolutely hate, wish never happened, but it did. And what a terrible thing the Americans did during this time.
The United States initially offered aid in the revolution against Spain in support of an independent Philippines. But the United States would soon make a deal with Spain. Spain, refusing to recognize being defeated by Filipinos, decided to sell the islands to the Americans. The United States essentially replaced Spain as the colonial master of the Philippine Islands. The Americans refused to recognize Filipino sovereignty and right to self-determination. The Philippine Declaration of Independence was ignored, and it was the beginning of what many in the world today call U.S. imperialism. At number 2.
What a dark, dark, dark part of American history and Filipino history. There's no words to describe what happened then. And it's weird, you know, throughout history, there's a lot of that, you know. Kind of like Japan is real friendly and allies to the Philippines, and they're a real strong ally now of the United States, but you go back so many decades and we're killing each other. It's just weird how time changes things.
3. On November 15, 1935, the Commonwealth of the Philippines was inaugurated. It allowed for a certain degree of self-government while still being a colony of the United States. So basically, like Puerto Rico today minus the citizenship. At number 4, American rule in the Philippines lasted until World War II. But on October 14, 1943, the Second Philippine Republic was born. On paper, the Second Philippine Republic was supposed to fulfill the promises of an independent Philippines, free from Western imperialism. However, in reality, the Second Philippine Republic was heavily tied to Japanese imperialism. It was basically a puppet, not truly independent.
That is so weird seeing a bill that says the Japanese government 10 peso. That is just... That's like Twilight Zone stuff, but yet it happened. Yet it happened.
And the Second Republic only lasted until August 17th, 1945. At number 5, immediately after World War II, the United States finally granted the Philippines independence on July 4th, 1946. Yes, the 4th of July, just like Uncle Sam's own birthday.
Is that what... Do we call it Friendship Day now? I can't remember. I think maybe we call that Friendship Day and not Independence Day for the Philippines.
Was the birth of the Third Philippine Republic, an independent Philippines filled with the promises of democracy and prosperity, yet it was a freedom with strings attached. At number 6, in 1962, then Philippine President Diosdado Macapagal declared June 12 Philippine Independence Day, a special holiday throughout the Philippines. He did this in commemoration of our people's declaration of their inherent and inalienable right to freedom and independence.
And I've done videos. I've done a couple videos on the independence of the Philippines, and there's many people that argue the date. Like, some people say it's July 4th, some people say it's June 12th. I think there may be even another date in there, or unknown date, where people will argue. What is the right one? I'm not to say. I can only watch videos, read history, and try to learn. What do you guys think?
For publicly distancing himself and the country from the shadows of the United States. He was also quoted saying, "A nation is born into freedom on the day when such a people, molded into a nation by a process of cultural evolution and sense of oneness, born of common struggle and suffering, announces to the world that it asserts its natural right to liberty and
I can
is
agree
ready
with that
to
statement.
defend it with blood, life, and honor."
I can agree with that
In
statement.
other words, similar to Uncle Sam's own 4th of July, Philippine Independence Day should be celebrated and remembered on the day that we, Filipino people ourselves, broke free from the shackles of imperialism and declared to the world our freedom, and not on the day that the colonizers had granted us independence.
I can agree
because
with
in
that.
reality,
Yes.
genuine freedom has never been freely granted by the oppressors and colonizers. It has always been won through a revolution, through a collective struggle for our people's liberation.
Absolutely.
At number 7,
Absolutely.
although officially recognized as Philippine Independence Day, June 12, 1898 was not really the first time that our people, that our revolutionary roots asserted and declared our right to freedom, our right to liberty against the cruelties and the shackles of colonialism.
They're probably talking about, you know, Bonifacio days, maybe Rizal days.
Sometime in August of 1896, with the exact date still being debated, the cry of Pugadlawin, also known as the cry of Balintawak, took place. It was the historic and official beginning of the Philippine Revolution and War for Independence. Similar to the Mexican Independence Day, also known as the Grito de Dolores, the cry of Pugadlawin was a historic declaration of a people's desire to fight and die for their independence. Members of the Katipunan, led by Andres Bonifacio, tore apart their community tax certificates, also known as cédulas personales, in protest of Spanish conquest and rule. This literal act of tearing apart cédulas was a symbolic act of breaking free. And many have said that this historic cry should actually be celebrated as Philippine Independence Day, similar to many other nations and revolutionary traditions such as Mexico's Grito de Dolores and Brazil's Cry of Ipiranga. And
I mean, I think, you know, a couple of those dates could be correct, but I really like the last date he talked about, because that was the first time that we know there was a revolution. They fought, they bled for their freedom, and, you know, I don't really know if the date's important, but what you do from that date on as a people, as how you come together, how you proceed, how you grow as a nation, how you support each other. I think those are the more important things. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. You could not agree. You could agree. But you know, how you treat one another and just grow as a nation and become the best nation as possible.
Lastly, at number 8, today the world recognized the Philippines as an independent nation state, with its sovereignty resting upon the Filipino people, its diverse people. However, many experts, activists, scholars, and critics alike would argue that the Philippines isn't truly independent. Now, whether you agree or not, in reality, the relationship between the Philippines and the United States has always been criticized by many as a form of neo-colonialism, a new form of imperialism in which the Philippines continues to be subservient to the whims of bigger powers.
You know what? But I feel the same way about America. Like, I don't think many nations are truly independent because we're dependent on other nations as far as resources, or maybe your country owns a lot of debt to a certain country. Like, I know the United States has a lot of debt to China, and many other nations have a lot of debt to China. That's one of China's plans. Let's own everybody by debt. But things like that, is your nation truly independent? I don't think any nation's truly independent anymore, or definitely nowadays it's just not. You're dependent. There's something that you need from some other country. It's just the way it is. It's the way the world works.
So as we celebrate Independence Day, whether in the Philippines or in the United States or anywhere else in the world, may we celebrate it by taking actions. Let's celebrate it by serving our communities. Because if you think about it, what's the point of celebrating Independence Day when millions of our people are still struggling to survive, when many of our people are still being deprived of their freedoms and their basic human rights? So let us celebrate Independence Day by taking actions, by serving our communities for the greater good, for the freedom, for the liberation, and for a brighter future for our children. And that is it for me today. If you like this video and learn it,
see, if you don't love Kirby, there's something wrong with you. The man is a genius. The man, when you watch Kirby talk, and he's not just talking because he's teaching, he wants to increase your knowledge about the history of the Philippines. If you don't get that, if you don't get the vibe, if you don't want to hit subscribe on him, then there's probably something wrong with you. The man, you can tell the man enjoys making these videos and teaches, and he does it with a smile, and he cares about his people. And like he said, it's not about the day, it's about what we do after the day. It's about how we treat each other. It's about how we grow as each other. It's about how we solve problems. Like he said, there's millions of people struggling. How can we lift these people out of poverty? How can we make sure they're provided? How can we care for humanity? Those things are what's most important, and I absolutely agree with you, Kirby. Anyway, hopefully you like the reaction and thoughts. Comment down below, what do you think? And definitely, if you don't subscribe to me, definitely subscribe to Kirby. He deserves it more than me. But if you want to just subscribe to both, that's cool too.